All right, everybody. It's 2 minutes after. We got over 100 folks. Welcome to the open mic. I'm a little sleep deprived, so I'm not on my game. We do this call because MSPs asked. You folks wanted to hear what we've been up to with the platform, what's new with it, what bugs we fixed, and you wanted to do a little R&D or rob and duplicate automation ideas from your MSP peers. If you are an MSP owner or executive and you don't do the technical work, this call is a little technical. Feel free to listen in as folks who are technical or automation folks talk about what they're building so you can get some automation ideas. Also, if you are building, I'm going to ask the question to myself today. If you are building, let me see here. How many MSPs have I seen that have succeeded at automation that have never asked a question? Let me think. 1, 4, 10 divided by 3, multiply 0. 0 MSPs have succeeded with automation without asking a question. So ask questions early, ask them often. We have a public channel called The Coop in Discord. You can ask the questions in front of everybody who uses Rewst, and someone may pop in and answer it. If you don't want to ask it in front of everyone publicly, you have a private channel. Please ask it there. Your private channel is monitored by your automation specialists, the ROC, and your CS folks as well. And with that, who am I passing the call to today? George.
It's me.
Hey,
Everyone
George.
wanted a treat, but they got a trick instead. Shame. Thank you, Aaron. Welcome everyone to our Halloween open mic. It's crazy that it's the end of October already. Just as a quick heads up, we had a last minute bail on a demo, so we do have an open slot at the end of this call if anyone wants to jump in live at the end. Maybe you've never done a demo before. Maybe you've got something super interesting and unique you've been working on this week that you want to share. So give it some thought and let us know. We'll have some time at the end for folks to jump in based on today's agenda. But the big announcement for me today is next week is, of course, IT Nation. Lots of people heading down to Florida for one of the biggest channel events of the year. And Rewst will obviously be there. I think Aaron's going to be down there, Danial on the call as well, lots of other team members. So please stop by to the booth, say hello, get some swag. But more importantly, we are also doing a bit of a dinner and drinks at the Hampton Social on the Wednesday evening. So if that's something you're interested in joining us for, we do have some seats available. So I'll go ahead and drop this link in the chat there. Go ahead and RSVP if you'd like to hang out with us on Wednesday night next week if you're going to be in Orlando for IT Nation. Yeah, there you go, Adam. So sign up, go grab some drinks, Pastor Daniel, chat with Aaron about chili, whatever you want to do. We hope to see you there. The other big announcement to Aaron's point is we have this call every week where we put a technical lens on things and do some deep dives into automations. However, our November webinar on November 19th is going to be centered around thought leadership and business operations. So maybe you are an MSP owner, maybe you're a builder or engineer at your MSP, and this is something you want to highlight to your boss. But this webinar is a panel webinar where we've got some of our partners that are going to be coming and sharing their experiences, specifically through that business process lens. So how are they hiring or promoting staff internally? What are they doing to scale their business with automations? What mistakes have they made and learn from it? So if that is something you're interested in, I'll drop another link into the chat. Please get registered and sign up for that webinar in November. Moving on, as I mentioned, Ash isn't with us today, so you've got me instead. We actually have a bunch of new faces we're going to be rolling through today, but we're going to start off with everyone's favorite Canadian and Mr. Familiar, Danial, with an A. Daniel, before you get started, are you behind the Blue Jays this evening, or do you hate Toronto that much that you're going
I
from LA?
despise Toronto. I despise everything about Toronto. I will never cheer for anything Toronto. It stems from me being brainwashed as a child. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. I know that I've gone down in everybody's books, but I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and my grandma taught me to despise the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that carried on into the Blue Jays and Raptors. So when people say Canada's team, I pull their shirt over their head and I start socking them in the face and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, it's pretty bad. But yeah, go Dodgers. So sorry for everybody having to listen to that. Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about some sort of dev updates. George got me all riled up right now. Thanks, Alden, for recording that. Alden said he has a demo for us too. That's wonderful. I will be at IT Nation next week. I would love, love, love to either meet some of you or be reacquainted with some of you there. So please come say hi. Um, I will also be at that dinner, so I would love to take you out for some drinks and everything like that, and look forward to seeing everyone at IT Nation in Orlando. This week we have a few features to talk about, and I'm going to talk about some stuff that we've released in the past and just try to get some feedback from everybody. I'll drop the dev notes in here right now. RBAC when tray. Thank you. We are actually working on some stuff related to RBAC. We've had to, just as a side note, now that Trey's talking about it, we have our permission system that we are actually migrating to a new permission system, which is a prerequisite for us moving forward with that RBAC. So we're working on that right now. We have a few developers on that, and we are slated to hopefully start working on permissions either probably by the end of this quarter, so in the next month or two, to start like the front end sort of big major work on permissions. So it will be an overhaul of that. And if you have more interest in that, please reach out to us through Discord. We can arrange some sort of feedback sessions. We're looking to start that up again. And Brooke and our first mile team will be working on that. So on to some of the updates that we have. We released a new integration this week. So yesterday we released the Cloudmore integration. This is another distributor and licensing platform. So you can imagine things like onboarding. You have to buy your licenses. You can buy them from Cloudmore. That will be coming. We don't have that in the crate yet, but we are working with Cloudmore on that. We're working on Cloudmore on the overall experience of setting up the Cloudmore integration as well. There's a couple of kind of nuances to it, but I'll show the Cloudmore integration in a few minutes. We've done some workflow execution performance improvements as well. We had a few bugs that we looked at over the course of the week that we released over the course of the week. Some to integrations. Every single week we have integration bug fixes that go out there because APIs change so frequently. And as we add more integrations, we have more changes that are needing to be addressed. We also have, there was one that I wanted to point out here. Oh yeah, there was an embedded forms error where the forms options filters was actually, when you're embedding a form into another page as an iframe, it was displaying all options. It wasn't following the filter, but we have since fixed that. I know that this was a high priority item that a few people pointed out. And then coming soon, we have some RoboRewsty MCP improvements. So if you were at Flow, we release bugs and we release bug fixes every single week. And pizza is the major reason why we release bugs. Just so
number one,
Yeah.
Let's go.
If you're at Flow, we actually have some videos and some social media posts talking about exactly what we're going to be releasing this quarter. So one of the things that we're looking at is releasing over the course of the next 2 months. We're going to be releasing ways that you can connect your own external AI into the Rewst MCP. And also we're looking at workflows being generated via RoboRewsty. So you can imagine, instead of just prompting and talking through workflow generation and asking it what actions to use, it will actually place actions onto the canvas with the transitions, with Jinja filled out into those action parameters and all that fun stuff. So that is still slated for a Q4 release. don't think it won't be in the next 2 weeks that we're or it probably won't be in November that we're releasing workflow generated, RoboRewsty generated workflows. It will most likely be a December sort of time frame. With that, I'll quickly just show the Cloudmore integration. So it has a whole bunch of fields that you need to fill out that you can get directly from Cloudmore. And then once you're in there, you have so you authorize it. It will run a quick test of that. It will show if it's off, if the test failed or succeeded. And then once you have that, you can actually run your Cloudmore integration. It's pretty quick to set up. You can test that and you can return a list of all of your organizations. I think we have probably about 20 or so actions. And once again, I believe we were working towards adding this into new user onboarding, but that will come in it's in an upcoming week that we'll talk more about that. With that, I also wanted to just maybe get some feedback, either come off mute and talk to me about it, or just send me a message in the chat here. But what I'm wondering is there anybody out there who has tried the custom app for HubSpot configuration? So what's new in HubSpot as of last week is you can set up your own custom application, which will allow you to add scopes or remove scopes, including things like e-commerce, which I know has been highly requested. Is there anybody who wants to talk about their experience in setting it up, or is there anybody who is willing to talk to me about setting up your custom HubSpot application? If you use HubSpot, I'm probably gonna at some point look into Canny and see who's been talking about HubSpot a little bit, and I'm gonna reach out to you, but it would be much easier if you could just send me a message, say, yes, I use the HubSpot application in the chat here. So Jason, perfect, thank you. And maybe we can talk this through. So Trey, Jason, okay, sounds like we're not gonna get anybody coming off mute, but I'll reach out to all of you just to get some feedback and to see if we can move you over to the custom app and get some more functionality available to you. So with that, I think that's all I have. Back to you, George.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, some more folks in the chat there as well on HubSpot. Daniel, Mr. DJ Dunk, thank you guys. Okay, next up, JP is busy, so we have someone else from the Create Marketplace team here for the Marketplace update. Eric.
Hey, thank you, George. And
oh, wait,
good
Eric,
afternoon.
hold on. Now, before you jump in, though, I believe this is your first time on the
second,
open mic.
second ever.
Second time. Okay,
yes.
Good. So we don't need to do an introduction, who you are, where you're from, what you do?
Yeah, I'll do that quick just for anyone who hasn't heard from me before. So my name's Eric. I'm talking to you from Boston, and I'm one of the leads on the services team. So if you have anything from the marketplace or the services team that you need, you'll be working with me or JP or someone else from the team.
Great, thanks, Eric. What's happening in the marketplace?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with bug fixes and chores. We got a handful this week. Most notably up top, we made some fixes and additions to Microsoft user onboarding. And then going down the list, we are making some additions to the OpenAI crate you see there, the BitLocker information crate, and the document Rewst form URLs crate, and then another addition to user onboarding. Going through those quick. As always, if you ever run into anything, please do reach out to support and let us know. We're working with the support team directly to make sure that we get these fixes out for you quick. Going down to coming soon, per machine password rotation, and then some enhancements and additions to DropSuite, as well as our user onboarding workflow. And then we've got OneStream Technician Toolbox down there at the bottom, but surprise, it's actually releasing today. Or, don't hold me to it, maybe Monday morning. We're putting some polish on the documentation because we want to make sure that that's available for you all right away. But the crate itself is ready to go. And I'm actually not going to talk too much about it because we do have someone else from the marketplace here, Paul, who is going to do a demo of that. So Paul, I'll pass to you.
Thanks, Eric. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I'll go over this crate. And this crate is going to be the OneStream Technician Toolbox. And I actually just released it 5 minutes ago, so it should be available now. The docs are going to be available either early next week or Monday morning or Monday afternoon, I believe. So this crate basically uses the OneStream platform and Rewst, and OneStream has integrated Rewst into their platform to allow this to work correctly. What you would do first is, of course, unpack the crate. This crate doesn't actually require the OneStream integration to be installed in Rewst, but it does require a couple crates to be installed, which are the password reset, user onboarding, user offboarding, and the Rewst MFA and group membership. If those aren't installed, it's going to, and you try to actually use this crate, it will bring this right up for you and allow you to unpack it there. And I'll go ahead and go through this now and show you what it does. So the first thing you're going to need to do is set up Rewst within OneStream. So you're going to go into OneStream, and from here you're going to go to Manage Organization here. And then you're going to want to set up within OneStream, you're going to want to set up your PSA in OneStream, which is probably already set up. This allows you, when you get a call, it's going to automatically pull the contact information from the PSA. The next thing you're going to want to set up is Rewst itself, which when you set that up, you have an option. You can either set an API key up or not. If you have anything in here, it's going to require you to create an org variable within Rewst. If you don't have anything in here, you don't have to do anything. This is used to secure the webhook that's going to be used from OneStream or from Rewst's end. And then after that's set up, you're going to want to scroll down to this section, which is the screen pop URLs. OneStream allows you basically to create these links. So when you have a contact pulled up, you can go right to these links. So they integrated Rewst into their platform, so you could set these links up and point them to forms. And it's going to allow you to pull the contact information and then pull that exact form up within Rewst and fill it in as long as that if the contact information matches up, it'll fill in as pretty much the username and a couple more things, which I'll open this up and we'll go through this. So you're going to need to put in the trigger information here, and then the step below is going to be the same. All this setup is going to be listed in the docs pretty clearly, so you can just copy and paste most of it, and it's not too bad to set up. But you're going to want to go through these and just set the name, link type's going to be custom, and just fill this out based off the docs. And then once you're done, you click save and just set up the next 4, I believe, that are supported currently. Once that is all set up, that is the OneStream end. You don't have to do anything else with OneStream. The next thing you're going to want to do is just test it out pretty much. So once you have this set up, you'll be able to, I'm not going to actually get a call, but when you get a call, it'll either pull the contact up, or you can pull the contact information on the top left here. And over here on the right side, it's going to list the links. So we'll go ahead and click one of these links. So this is going to run the workflow. When you click it, it's going to pull that contact information that you have from the PSA that's set up in OneStream. And it's going to grab that data and fill it in as long as it matches here. So let me make sure our side's set up real quick. Basically, it's going to pass it in via param. So once it runs, it's going to pull up this form, pull the organization for that contact, and if the user matches, it's going to pull that username here. That one didn't match, so we're going to go ahead and just do one that I know works. So we'll go ahead and click this one here. Let me just make sure our integration, someone might have changed our test environment real quick.
Find is X tab and options for click reset Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. It is still to
Just give me 1 second here. Yeah, someone switched our PSA to That'll last second, so I'll go ahead and switch that back, and then I'll rerun this.
It's a little Halloween trick just to mess with your demo.
Yeah, literally 5 minutes ago that was switched right before. So we'll go ahead and run this again with the correct PSA. Let's see here. So there you go. Now it's going to pull that information that I have set up, which is connect from within ConnectWise, and it's going to pass that information via the params, and it's going to fill in this data automatically for you. This just makes it a lot easier to fill out. When they get a call, they can just pull up the information instantly, and it'll pull up the right form. If they need to onboard someone that's a contact, that'll automatically fill up. If they need to offboard someone, they'll click that one, the offboarding one. If they want to, I'll show you what happens when you don't have the crate as well, once this runs. So the offboarding one's going to pull that information. It's going to do a match. So if you have on-prem or Azure set up, it'll based on the setup in Rewst, it'll know what to pull, and it'll pull either the on-prem information or the Azure information. One more thing is this one. So I don't have this crate installed. So if you click this one, it's just going to go through. It's going to check, and it's going to notice you don't have the crate installed, and it's going to pull it right up to the crates unpacking section. The marketplace, and you can just click unpack crate, and then that will install the crate. So that's going to be all set up, and then you can just rerun that, and it'll pull the information. But that is pretty much the crate, and it has been released 5 minutes ago, and the doc should be out next week.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Paul, and thanks, Eric, for the update. Next up, we have a special guest from education. The legendary Eddie Shaw is here for a real treat for everyone.
Cool. Thanks, George. Hi, everybody. Happy Halloween, All Hallows Eve. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we'll kind of dive into it. So a couple updates from the education world. First and foremost, we have added some recorded sessions of our clean automation training. So if you want to one-shot some of the lessons there, put me on 1.5 speed and kind of blast through it, get the live experience without being live, without spending the time. We got that available on the clean automation course. Along with that, if you haven't checked out some of our other things that we've been cooking on the Cluck University side, learn.rewst.io, go check that out. We have a brief course on webhook triggers and just trigger criteria in general. So how do you filter all of those webhooks that are coming into your Rewst instance so that you're only running the workflows that you want to run? You don't want to run a gajillion tasks when you don't have to. So webhook triggers and trigger criteria helps us to pick and choose what exactly that we want to run. Let's talk about certification. Again, get your nice nifty certificate and badge showing that you know what you're doing, or at least the imposter syndrome, or at least you feel like you know what you're doing. Like art, we're always iterating through learning more things. So let's give those shout outs, starting with Rewst Foundations, Marianne, Shivang, Ashen, Yordi, Mark, Evan, and Keyshawn. Congrats for passing the Rewst Foundations course. From there, we have Clean Automation. We have Gary, Justin, and James. Congrats on passing. From there, we have a bunch of updates from the documentation side. And again, if you guys haven't filled out your survey yet, this is what you're doing to the animals. And if you have, congrats. We really appreciate the feedback. But again, we really are doing this for you, right? The docs are there to enable you to get the most out of Rewst. So if you haven't filled out the docs survey yet, please go ahead and do that. A bunch of updates coming through the pipe. Again, we're doing our best to continuously update what's going on in the documentation world. And with your feedback, you can help us out with that. In honor of Halloween, I just wanted to give a couple of tricks or treats depending on how you want to view it. So let's just walk through a couple of things that I personally like to do in workflows. First thing is in regards to actually building the workflow itself. More often than not, whenever I build a workflow, it is very sequential, right? You throw a task onto your workflow editor, you run it. Does it work? Yes. And then you work to the next one. Hey, here's the next task, run it, and so on and so forth. And as your workflows grow, right, you are adding on more and more tasks that you are running to get to the next step, right? And you can see how many tasks that you end up running when maybe you don't always have to. And so one of the things that I personally like to do is in a sea of tabs in Windows, I like to keep a sort of sandbox, a test workflow environment up. And what I will do here is oftentimes just run that one task that I need to, figure out, what parameters do I need to figure out, what filters, etc. And I will run it in the test workflow so that way it only just runs that one time instead of that iterative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tasks running each and every single time. Once I figured out my task and it's configured the way I need it, from here you can actually copy the task from one workflow to the other. So you can copy to your clipboard like so, head over to your main workflow that you're working off of, and then paste it. So that way you didn't have to iterate through and run the same workflow again and again and again. Right. So that's one of the tips that I personally like to do. Again, just kind of helps with the, hey, let's just run the same workflow over and over again and rack up all of these tasks that you don't necessarily need to run again and again and again. So that's one of the big ones there. And then the second one in regards to testing is, again, that button that brings our context into the live editor. So in the theme of testing, recall whenever you head over to your execution history, head into a specific execution, you can always bring your entire context with you into the live editor. And you can even manually throw in code here as well if you want to do any sort of Jinja testing. Same theme, same idea, right? Rather than just rerunning the same workflow again and again, just to see if that one thing works, right? Find ways in which you don't have to do that, right? If you're not running 50, 60, 70 tasks just to see if that one thing works. This is also true in Jinja as well, right? Bring it over to the live editor. You now have your test environment to do whatever sort of Jinja stuff you want. Personally, with the advent of AI, I'll even ask AI like, hey, give me a sample output of this API request. And then I'll just test it against the context here just to get an idea of what I'm trying to do. So a couple different ideas on testing. Again, we don't need to run through and hit that test button again and again on your main workflow. I personally go test workflow, test it out in a small environment, and then just copy it to your clipboard, paste it in a completely new workflow. So those are my tips, my tricks, my treats for this Halloween. I'll throw it back over to you, George.
Thanks so much, Eddie. Some great tricks and treats there. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to jump into some of our partner demos. Alden, I saw your note in the chat, so thank you. I've got you added in to our agenda. But first up, we have Shawn Larkin. Shawn, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
Lovely. Perfect. Shawn, maybe just to kick things off, if you can tell us who you are, where you're from, how long have you been using Rewst, and what are you kind of showing us today?
Sure. So name's Shawn. I work with the MSP Pro IT out of North Dakota. We've been using Rewst for, I think, about 2 months now. So we're still kind of fresh to it. But we sort of dove right in, started to try to figure out how to fix some of our most frustrating problems through automation rather than starting with simpler tasks. We just figured be best to just try and figure it out and just dedicate the time and energy straight into it. And it's paid off, because the workflow that I'm presenting today solves something that for me was just kind of frustrating, which was that we have clients hosted in Azure with subscriptions coming from both Pax8 and Ingram Micro. These vendors both provide data in very different ways about their usage. So when we wanted to get that Azure usage billing information into Halo and put it on invoices, we had to take these reports, format that data into something new that Halo could then ingest. And I had to use CSVs and Excel, Power Query, and all this. It was a very manual process, and it just brought me a lot of cringing all the time. So, especially because, like with Pax8, some of the CSVs I was having to generate was like copy and pasting out of their website. They didn't even have like an actual report to give me until my supervisor figured out how to use their API to pull a report. That helped a lot. And it's actually that PowerShell that he figured out that I was able to recycle and use in this workflow. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me make sure I get the right one here because I have a lot of screens. Okay. So right off the bat, like to give you an example, here's an example report coming out of Ingram. It would have all of the subscription data for the whole month, and that subscription information would be in the description, or the subscription would be in this description, and you'd have to parse that to get, oh, this is for virtual machines and this one's for the VPN gateway. And so that was, something that we had to do. And then this was the original Excel document that I had that would break everything down into customers, products, prices, assign the subscription to it. And then I had to correlate all that data with invoice IDs from Halo and invoice line IDs from Halo, so that then I could import that back into Halo and it would update the corresponding lines. And I should probably also note that, for Pax8 in particular, they have recently updated their integration in Halo. So now, like from the Pax8 integration, we get this data that is really broken down into the different items that are being billed for on a subscription. But this is a little too fine-grained for what we're trying to bill out to our clients. We prefer something that looks more like this. It's easier to ingest for the client. So that was kind of one of the things that prevents me from using that data from the Pax8 integration, and something that I was achieving with the Excel document. So I've taken all that previous work and I've created this workflow. So the first thing I do is I set variables, and I will eventually replace some of this with a form submission, so that instead of setting an invoice date here, and I did a screenshot so that I could block out the client ID in secret. But so I plan to change some of this to be a form submission, so you can put in the invoice date that you want to bill for to update, and then that goes from there. Starts out with the PowerShell from before that I mentioned. Right now we're still using PowerShell to do the API calls to Pax8. This part could be replaced eventually with Rewst's own Pax8 integration, but for now I was just recycling what we already had to simplify. And then we pull the data, we reformat it, and I was able to use ChatGPT to ask how to reformat the data in PowerShell, and I'd highly recommend, anytime you're like, well, I'm getting the data in PowerShell, but I need to like totally rearrange it. ChatGPT was really helpful with coming up with this type of formatting code. So then, to show you what it was before the formatting, I was getting like individual line items here for each product line, but they were also mixed with each other. So you'd see Eckert or Western Area Water Supply, Border Steel, Sidex. You'd come back to Eckert for another thing. After the ChatGPT assistance, I was able to reformat so that everything's grouped by company and subscription. And that was what was really needed in order to take it to the point that I could pass that into a sub workflow, which once I have the data, I use the Halo integration here. I pull the invoice using the subscription, which I'm currently just storing the subscription as a reference on each invoice that I need. So every time I set up a new recurring invoice in Halo, I put that Azure subscription ID as a reference number there, and then this workflow is going to be able to know that that's the recurring invoice that goes with it. So it pulls the invoice, then this gets the line items for that invoice. I run another PowerShell here. Let's bar out of the way. Run another PowerShell to update the values using the data from before. So we're updating those prices and costs, and then I pass that back into Halo to update the recurring invoice. So I should be able to run it here real quick and show. So right now you can see, I'll leave it maximized. You can see these say that they're not reviewed. 298.83. I'm gonna just say test. Should run through. I just finished this workflow last week too, so if it does error out, it's still kind of fresh. Oh, looks like it's working. It's cycling through that. So still going because it has to do it for each of the clients there. Also, right now, this is only processing the Azure subscription data for PAX 8. I did mention we also have it for that data for Ingram. So I'm still trying to work with the Ingram integration. I've been running into problems with their API, kicking back errors. So I actually have a ticket open about that. We're working through some of that. Once I get the Ingram side of the API calls working, then my plan is to update this to include all the Ingram customers as well. And then there, that's done. So now, so it was 290.83, fresh, 280.40. So it's all been updated. And I leave this last one as not reviewed so that it doesn't automatically generate the invoice, because we have automatic generation of invoices turned on. So that gives me an opportunity to go in and essentially check off, okay, go ahead and run these ones. But my plan eventually is to get rid of that line and let it be fully automated. But that's it.
Hey, Shawn, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So we have something similar that we built. But what we found is that when we pull the subscription data at the end of the month, it almost always never matches the actual bill that comes from PAX 8 a few days later. Have you run into that? Or you just released it and you don't know yet?
So, I mean, I've been doing the billing through the Excel document for a while there, and I have gone back and checked things back when I was doing it pretty manually, and not run into that too much. there's going to be some really minor differences, like really just a few cents off here and there, because I've excluded anything below like 1 cent, you know, and because there's so many items that line items that come through that are
Right.
partial cents, that
Yeah,
throws things up a little bit. But
we're pulling the full, like we're adding up all the line items together, and then we're comparing that to the ultimate bill we get from PAX8, and sometimes it's significantly off. It's never a few pennies. It's off by $30, $100, or whatever it is.
I don't think I've run into that. I probably haven't been looking at that side of it too closely, because I mean I'm pulling this data from PAX8's, essentially using their API to pull our invoice. So all this data is coming from the invoice that they sent to us.
So you're pulling it. So you're invoicing after, like, on the 5th or 6th of the month, not on the 1st of the month.
So I'm actually invoicing for the previous month. So when I run an invoice, or when I run my billing for Azure at the end of October, the report is for October 1st, which is actually for the period of September 1st through the 30th. Yes.
So you're pulling the actual invoice. So yeah, we're pulling the actual usage, and then when we get the invoice a couple months later, a couple days later, it's significantly different.
Yeah, I do it based off the invoice, not because honestly I didn't know if there was a way to pull the usage data itself. It was easier to pull it from the invoice.
Yeah, no, we're pulling the usage data itself, and it's always from the invoice significantly different, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
So I was hoping you had a way of getting the data a little more accurately in that manner, but it looks like you're doing it in a different method than we are.
Yeah. So yeah, we bill in arrears for the Azure in that regard, and that so it is a little bit more delayed doing it that way, but I guess it's a little more accurate in that sense.
Yes. Okay. Sorry for interrupting. Thank you.
No problem.
No, Jason, by all means, appreciate the questions. If anybody else has any other questions for Shawn, by all means, raise your hand, jump in, post them in the chat. Shawn, I had one for you actually. I mean, this is very impressive for someone who's only been using Rewst for a couple of months. I think a lot of people can resonate with taking various reports from different systems, things being in CSV and Excel docs, and having to compile and then convert and then assess all that information. It's been a manual, that's a crazy manual process that people have to do all the time. My question is, how much time do you think you've saved through building this automation?
I would say that I've saved myself a significant amount of time, because it was taking me probably a couple hours, maybe like 3 or 4 hours sometimes each month to do that manual billing process, because there's a lot of verification steps that I was going through to make sure that I was getting the right data. But then, especially because I was taking it from 2 different sources and 2 different formats, and sometimes that data changes a little bit, in the way Ingram formats it, or the way. So, I would say it wasn't unusual for me to take 3 or 4 hours a month to do this billing, and now, I ran that, and it took 5 minutes to run it. I still have to end up, like I said, going through and marking that line item as reviewed in order for the invoice to generate, but ultimately my plan is to take that step out as well. So in the long run, this is going to take a 3 or 4 hour process a month down to like 5 minutes a month.
Yeah, that's amazing. I totally believe that. We've got some case studies where, when it comes to similar processes like billing reconciliation, pre-automation partners had one resource that was taking half a month, 2 weeks every month to compile and assess and yeah, make sure everything was aligned. So, Shawn, thanks again for sharing and presenting on Open Mic. Really appreciate it. Alden, we're gonna pass over to you now. You mentioned you had a nifty little sub workflow you wanted to share and show.
I know Alden. He's pretty cool. How's everyone doing today? Uh, so I do have one. This is kind of came up as relevant for us. I know a lot of you guys are using Teams bots at this point, which is really awesome, because you can do a lot of things with those. One of the things that I found that hasn't really came up in conversation, but is definitely an issue that has needed to be resolved is what do you do if someone's out of office and how do you figure that out and all that fun stuff. So I built this little guy, and this is kind of, yeah, it's a sub workflow we're now using for pretty much everything, where we are looking to see if the user is in my database, grabbing their conversation ID, their user ID, their name, and if they're on a different platform, the correct platform that they message on. I go ahead and run that into a check presence, which sadly isn't in the current scope of API permissions that the cloud integration has. So it is one that if you were to clone this, you would need to make a custom app on your Microsoft tenant for Rewst and rebuild that, which is tedious, but it's also nice to be able to have that granularity. Hitting the presence endpoint, which will give you whether the user is at an office, whether they're offline, whether they've been deleted, whether they don't have an account anymore, etc. And then from there, depending on whether they're OO, offline, or available, either send a message to the backup for them or send a message directly to the user. And so this works very well in tandem with any sort of high priority items coming directly from a CRM or a PSA where someone needs to have their eyes on whatever the issue or item is immediately, and how to handle and someone taking a vacation, the awful V word. Kind of real short, cute, quick, but very, very nice. Also a nice little warn me if everything's broken, because by golly, we know that things like to break. Anybody got any questions or anything? I know this is a quick, short one, but man, this is helpful.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up just while we look for questions. I know that Ray, who's probably still just waking up, it was at a conference recently where he was talking using kind of this story of people being on vacations or out of office or traveling. There's a whole list of technical problems that only really technicians and automation engineers think about, because it can really throw a spanner in the works, right? Whenever people start going on vacation or traveling. So things like this are super useful. I personally love, I'll add to the comments in the chat as well, the warn Alden task there.
So, and there's a lot of people who are saying, yeah, what is that the word the vacation? But what's really nice about this, I'm not going to show that because that's going to show information you guys don't need. In the response to the check presence, it gives, you can kind of see here the structure. So the data value has an out of office settings subnode in the response. And so out of office can either be true, false, or null. Null meaning the account doesn't exist. But then you'd also have the availability. So if you're offline, if you're away, if you're available, are all exposed separately. Also, you can post to this endpoint if that gives anyone any strange ideas. But it's very, very, very nice to be able to handle different situations, especially if your antivirus isn't like yabbing a mouse jiggler or anything. Any further questions besides having the worn Alden block or what a vacation is? Charlie, the reason I'm not doing the consolidation of those is eventually offline and out of the office are going to have different things they do, but for now they're not. So kind of preparing for the future.
Awesome, very cool. Thanks for jumping in and sharing. Folks, we are in the last portion of open mic, just some general Q&A. We've got people from Rewst here. If anyone has any questions about the platform or maybe questions for the community, is there anything anyone wants to ask?
I actually got another question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
So Alden, you didn't mention something about Teams bots. What are people using Teams bots for, and how are they using them with Rewst?
I can start. So we are using a Teams bot, which is actually an Azure bot, for clarity, because we use it to handle requests from both our internal team, requests from Skype, and requests from Telegram, and convert those into links to what would be equivalent to a new ticket, basically a new ticket submission via text. But looks like chat also has a whole bunch of fun things.
Yeah, lots of things coming in the chat there, Jason. I know we've actually had some pretty cool demos on previous open mics this summer with a lot of team spots, so feel free to dig back through some previous recordings. Some of those will be on the doc site, but all of them are on the YouTube playlist with the descriptions, so you'll be able to see some stuff there. But yeah, the chat's popping off because lots of people using lots of team spots for lots of different processes. Did you have anything that you wanted to follow up there on, Jason, before I pass it over to Shawn?
No, by all means.
Okay,
Shawn,
cool.
go ahead.
So my question is if anyone else is using the Ingram integration to pull reports on, on sales or subscription usage data, anything like that from Ingram. Is there anyone else in here that does that?
Any Ingram partners on the call?
I set up the Ingram integration, but I have not used it yet. I had plans.
Any timeline on that, Brett, whenever you dive in?
It was something to do with our onboarding procedure that we do. So when we get a new onboarding, it comes from PandaDocs. That sends the webhook over to Rewst. And if they were signing up to have like a jump box, toolbox sort of machine, we were trying to get to a point where it would just order it. But the integration was there for multiple reasons. That was the reason that I started. And then I was like, oh, I can pull a bunch of info from here. This is great. And never got back to it. Hopefully in the next few months, that'll be more of a priority. On the bots, I've got like 30 bots now that integrate. Everything starts in Rewst, but it goes over to Diffie for any number of bot actions. Triage. The one I set up most recently that I am in love with is it takes the documentation we have in Hoodoo, looks at their most recent onboarding tickets for that client, goes back to a Diffie bot via Rewst with that information, comes back with a document of how that new user onboarding should work for that given client, and then builds off of that with the Rewst automations that are already there to just go ahead and basically build the automation for me. I mean, the steps are all there. Like all the actions exist in Rewst. clarifying that data is what the bot's doing.
Alrighty.
To answer your question there, George, probably in the new year. There's a lot of investigation that needs to happen as far as how the data is pulled.
Gotcha.
So our whole finance department will be a endeavor.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Shawn. There's some folks that are also using Ingram, but yeah, may need a month or two to kickstart things. But yeah, I'm sure you guys can connect on Discord once you get the ball rolling. And of course, feel free to use your private Discord chats. Ask the Rock how we can help as well. Any other questions on our last open mic for October?
Is there a process for requesting a channel in the Discord? Because I noticed that there's not an Ingram channel.
Yeah, we can certainly put one together, Shawn, if that's helpful. I can get one set up if you'd like a space to chat all things Ingram. We can definitely put that under Birds of a Feather. So let me make a note of that, and we'll get that live for you.
Appreciate it.
I can post open mic links in there as well. Any other questions, other topics, comments, concerns, questions, cashews?
I had a question. Has anyone had luck with putting approvals in tickets like within your PSA for it to like document the user that clicked the approval? With webhooks, I wasn't seeing a way to do that, and I wanted to know if anyone else had a different way to do approvals where it'll pull the user who clicked it.
If you're doing it from a Teams bot, you can grab the context of the user that's clicked on the approve link.
Okay.
If you're not doing it through a Teams bot, then
I'm not, but that gives me an idea on a way I could do it though. So thank you.
Yeah, ConnectWise PSA at least doesn't make it easy to know who actually clicked that link.
I've done something really ghetto with ConnectWise, but it works. Rewst form that manages a task, and that task has a unique ID that you're looking for. And once that task is marked as closed, that's your approval.
Well, I'm more looking for like who submitted or who approved the webhook. But Alden's idea.
You can view the first and last name, and then before we do that, I do a lookup of the PSA member and then match the first and last name, and then that's the person who submitted it.
That works for forms, yes, but not for webhook approvals. I do the same thing for forms though, and match it with PSA context.
Yeah, it would only work if you had the ability to send a personalized URL to each person. So like, for example, if you emailed someone, you could include their email address back in the URL parameters to the webhook.
I was about to say, you could also do that with wherever that link is being put. If that link is like landing in the PSA, it could be probably dynamic to when you click on it. If your PSA will fill that in.
Yeah, maybe I could do it based on like the assigned user on the ticket or something. Maybe message them in Teams to give them an approval link, or put a different approval link in the ticket based on who's assigned to. That it does give me some ideas.
Last month on the Aussie Open Mic, we shared out how we do it for people. I put the workflow. I'll share the workflows here that I've created, so you can go and take a look at how I customized it so you would know who responded and see if you can modify that for your needs.
That would be awesome.
Nice, right? Yeah, cheers. That'd be great. Sweet. Well, guys, we're at the top of the hour, so we'll wrap things up there. Aaron, any closing words from you?
Don't eat too much candy, everybody. Take your kids out. Eat their candy. I like the anything that's like peppermint mint chocolate. Send it my way. Have a good weekend, everyone. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you.